And welcome to another exciting episode of the Click Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. I'm your host, Tim D-O-double-G. And I'm joined by the man behind the sound effects at Agent_70 on Twitter.
What's up, everybody?
We also have at PCN_Dirt on Twitter.
Hi, everybody.
And we also have at RowdyCat on Twitter here with us.
The Geechee is real.
What was that?
The Geechee is real.
Okay. Make sure to go to our website, theclicknation.com, where you can find previous episodes of the Comic Book Chronicles and comic book reviews. Go to popculturenetwork.com, which is Dirt's website.
Please do.
And when you're on theclicknation.com, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter and check out all our social media accounts on there. They all have nice little buttons you can click on. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, etc.
You have a newsletter?
We do.
Wow. What do you put in your newsletter?
Sign up and you'll see.
A hard sell.
We are part of the Cold Slither Podcast Network. You can find us there along with all the other podcasts at cspn.us. Use the hashtags Comic Book Chronicles and CBChron on your favorite social media websites. And remember, we record live every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Go to theclicknation.com/live to watch. All right, so we are going to get into reviewing some books for the week. It was a busy week, lots of new number ones across from all the different publishers. There was one big seller that was selling out across all the comic book stores. That was the Black Panther number one.
Yep. Alternately, and
Got my stack here.
yeah, I got the. I saw that you tweeted out that you picked up 4 versions of it. I picked up the regular cover and the Black Album hip hop cover.
Good deal. Didn't actually have to pay too much for all of them.
Nice. Nice. I saw that the writer, the author, Ta-Nehisi Coates, tweeted out a couple things. One, I guess he's now taking up residence in New York, so he was tweeting out a bunch of tweets on release day on Wednesday about heading over to Midtown Comics to see what they had left. And he also tweeted and shouted out my little comic shop, which is Carmine Street Comics. Shout out to Carmine Street Comics. He actually retweeted them promoting Black Panther, so that was pretty cool.
Nice. So, all Reddit. I wonder if it's going to be $4.99 going forward, or if that was just like a special number one
I
price.
can look that up. Give me a second.
Well, Doug looks that up. The issue starts off with a rebellion taking place in Wakanda. There's a woman that is sort of controlling the emotions of some of the residents of Wakanda, and they're outraged with sort of the threats that have taken place on the Wakandan soil over the last couple of years, with the Avengers vs. X-Men being flooded by Namor, Dr. Doom trying to take over, and then Thanos and his Black Guard, or whatever he called them, invading in before Secret Wars. So the people have lost confidence in the Black Panther.
It's funny that T'Challa would restore Wakanda at the end of Secret Wars basically the way it was. You know, he didn't make it a utopia or anything like that. He literally restored it to pretty much just to the point it was in immediately prior to Secret Wars beginning. So all of the problems and all of the after effects were still in place.
Well, that's what I was wondering about. Did he actually do that, or was that like reading them, just saying, "Well, we're just gonna put it back to the way it was"?
It's
At this
probably a
point?
mix of both, but I think that it's more T'Challa not wanting to mess too much with reality in that sense.
Hmm.
He
Kind of
did
putting it back in place.
he did make them like the people that launched like the space mission or
Right.
something, right?
Right.
He made
Yeah.
He
them
did make them with space
explorers.
power, right?
Right. Which I mean, they kind of were realistically. That was just that part was never, I guess, spoken about up until the beginning of New Avengers.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So that being said, I found it interesting that they touched on all the bad things that happened pre-Secret War. So,
Right.
that's where we get to this point where, his authority is kind of teetering on the brink, and their insurgent forces within Wakanda looking to, cause havoc. And we find that, there are forces that are being amassed along the border areas to potentially cause serious issues. I'm not spoiling anything because it's actually the cover of the next issue, but some stuff's about to go down.
Right. Which, in the start of a book, you as this, you would want something to, start to lead somewhere, and it looks like it's going on full, well, not full blast, but it's starting off on all cylinders, as it were, because there are a couple of different things that are going on within and without the country. So
Mhm.
that he has to deal with. So I imagine this is going to sustain for a while. This is a quite well written book, obviously, given the pedigree of the writer. It kind of hardens me to see Wakanda like this, being a fan of Black Panther and what Wakanda used to be and everything that is going on, or that has gone on since. But at the same time, it's probably necessary for something like this to happen because civilization is golden all the time. So I am curious to see where this goes and how it ends up.
And oh,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say issue 1 was a $4.99 40-page book, and then starting next month it's back to just a regular $3.99 book.
Right. So I guess they're doing just like any number ones or $4.99, so they can get that and
Yeah, 8 extra pages cost you an extra $1.
yeah, that seems to be what they've been doing. So
I guess that's fair.
yeah,
I like the art from Brian Stelfreeze and Laura Martin on colors, especially the sort of the simplicity of the Black Panther suit. He looked like a Black Shadow when he was, totally in his suit with the mask on.
yeah, and apparently a couple of upgrades to his suit.
Yeah, what I was gonna mention is that it's very much like a technologically advanced version of the Black Panther costume. I think we were kind of spoiled by by some of the preview pages that were released, because that definitely spoiled some of the aspects of the suit, which have been enhanced under Coates and Stelfreeze's guidance and design. It's much more a suit of armor than it ever was, I think.
Right.
And along with that comes, a lot of the things that we've come to see, like HUDs and, when I say HUD, I mean a heads-up display and whatnot within the Black Panther suit. So, I think that's a new concept. I could be mistaken though.
And we had a tease at the end of the issue of sort of like a mission that Black Panther is undertaken to try to resurrect the character.
Yeah, which totally forgot about that part because remember what was going on around that time. I just don't remember what ended up happening with that particular story. So I got some reading to go back and do.
Yeah, because this person's death was kind of left up dangling to me.
Right, and even within this story, there was people thinking like she's, or this person is missing, not, dead. But reading the front page was like, oh yeah, that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, lot to look forward to in this upcoming run.
Yeah.
I think so.
Anything else we need to add? That's the cover by Felipe Smith, I believe. Let me put the focus
Yeah,
on
it is.
Yeah, and I'm not sure why it's Fantastic Four.
I wasn't sure
That's
about that
because
either.
that's where the character was first introduced, if I'm not mistaken, right? Wasn't he first introduced in the FF?
Yeah.
Was it? I thought it was Avengers, but okay. That's right, because he went to go test them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was my understanding. So that made sense to me when I saw it. I didn't actually see a physical cover though. So I've only seen the image.
Yeah. I've seen that. That one was in the store, but
This one?
no, the last one, the Felipe Smith.
Oh, okay.
Is that Oliver Corpel cover, the other one? That one?
Yes.
That was like a $20 one at my comic shop.
Wow.
Probably.
yeah.
It was probably a 25-to-1 ratio.
Incentive.
On that one.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was like, I'll pass.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
trying to see some of the numbers. The eBay numbers on some of those covers have obviously not outrageously gone a little bonkers, but it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Anyone want to mention another book?
Hey, how about Black Widow number 2?
Book?
How about it?
Oh,
Black
Black
Widow
Widow.
number 2. Yeah.
Sure.
I did not read it, so
I
read
did
it.
though. So
Yeah, I enjoyed this book. This was a good second issue. While the first issue had pretty much no talking in it, this one has a little bit more, but it's also kind of skirting the line between like a lot of action going in and some dialogue here and there. So
Right.
what we have is Maria Hill and an agent named Elders at this Shield gravesite mourning one of Agent Elders' I guess proteges who had died in the mission, and he seems to be blaming Natasha for this because I guess she was on the mission and Natasha supposedly went rogue and did her own thing, and somehow this person got killed. But during the course of this, we see some people in the shadows stalking this site who no one but Shield's supposed to know about, and these people are pretty much seemingly out for Maria Hill's blood. Natasha's there, taking them out one by one, as the Elders and Hill were talking. But what we come to find out is that the people that were seemingly after Maria Hill were actually after Natasha. Hence, we get to going back to the first issue where she is coming out of the Shield helicopter with something. We finally get the motivation as to why she's doing this, because she's being blackmailed by some person who has some files on her, which has compelled her to do this.
Right.
So we finally find out what's going on with that part.
Yeah, pretty much why she's supposedly gone rogue. So it's a tried and true reason to go rogue. I guess Wade and Sammy are going to delve a little bit deeper into what's actually in those files, and we'll see what it is that the Black Widow's trying to recover. The information she's trying to recover.
Apparently, it is not your video.
Ha!
There we go.
Did anybody get the Civil War variant?
I didn't even see that one.
There were a couple of these this week.
That artist looks like Bengal.
The eyes look like anime. That's all I can tell you. Yes, Bengal. That's who it is. Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
I do recognize art when I can.
look at you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan. So Black Widow is a book I need to make sure I keep up with from the sounds of it.
Yeah,
I
it seems
have
like
it. I just haven't read it yet, but I've got it sitting here. I just didn't get to it.
Yeah,
It's
like
good.
I don't. Yeah, I like. The only thing I said about it is I didn't think there was going to be a good follow up to the last volume with the Edmondson run.
Mhm.
This is not exactly that, but this is a this is a good follow up to that. Or so far, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. But ultimately, what it strikes me as is that it's definitely a tried and true setup for a spy story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm willing to give Wade and Samney a lot of benefit of the doubt going forward on this.
And clearly, at some point, there will be retribution.
Yep.
Dun dun dun.
Burn. All right. Okay. Now, who read Vision number 6?
I did.
I did.
Did
Tim?
not.
Oh! Even Ta-Nehisi Coates said this is the best book that Marvel's putting out. Check his Twitter feed.
I mean,
It's a good book.
He's not wrong.
I will be reading it this weekend.
The one thing I did feel like it took a bit of a leap at the end.
You mean like setting up the cliffhanger?
Yeah, the explanation of everything. It's like, well, this is because of this, and this is because of this, and this led to this, so therefore it's the end of the world. Like,
I thought it was a leap in the beginning, but yeah, I can see that. And hey, let's tie it to this other thing, or potentially, which you had to figure at some point there was going to be some other contact coming in the way things had started. Because it wouldn't have been just them off on their own, and this seemingly murderous trend was going to keep going on for no reason.
I loved it, man. It was great. I love the narration.
Mm-hmm.
Is that supposed to be spoiler alert?
Oh, do we find out who's narrating the book?
We
Yes.
do find out who's. Yeah, it is. It is, but it seems. The weird thing about it is, it seems like it makes sense, but at the same time, like there was no other ties going into this, so why would this be the case?
Right.
But the narrator makes sense because they would know somehow what was going on, and there is a tie to the Vision.
Right. I just thought it was weird that this particular character narrating would be able to talk about all this computer mumbo jumbo math mumbo jumbo that
Right.
that's like rife in the first 10 or 12 pages of this.
Well, not
Tom
only
King was
that,
killing me with the logic and the math problems.
actually, I love that part because
It was
like,
great,
okay,
but it brought me back.
Yeah, but the thing that was weird about the narrator was like, wait, I thought this person could only speak to one person who was actually also showed up and also makes the tie and also is a very close tie to the Vision.
Right.
But like I said, it didn't make sense. It was like, wait, was she talking to everybody who was around, or was this person?
Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah. What do you think, Dirt?
Well, again, I liked it. I mean, I do like this title a lot. I just, that leap at the end, it makes sense for why this person is narrating and why we've seen them make the occasional appearance in this book. So at least for a storyline purpose, it makes sense. But I just felt it was a bit too much. This. Well, okay. Here's the thing. There's a reference. What was it in this book? There's a reference. Was it? In Iron Man. Iron Man this week made a reference to HAL 9000 from 2001: Space Odyssey. And I read that first, and then read Vision. So as they were talking about the programming and problem and all this kind of stuff, it kept going back in my mind to HAL. I mean, it just makes sense that that's the same type of thing, but instead of it being he may go crazy or this neighborhood may be in danger or how far out will he spiral to cover up the secret, it just goes to it's the end of the world. And that's just where it lost me, was spinning everything out of control to that point. But until that point, I really enjoyed it.
I'm inclined to agree. I wasn't a fan of the cliffhanger on the last page. The lead up to it, basically the two panels that lead up to that last big panel, I kind of shocked me out of suspending my disbelief,
Mm.
and
Right.
I kind of like lifted my head and said, what? So I
Well,
definitely understand, where you're coming from, Dirt.
right, because it's kind of one of those things like for the last few issues or all through since the series started, this book has been pretty much on his own. Like, yeah, you've seen the Vision off with the Avengers doing, side story stuff. He even brings it up, during the course of the story, of issues and that, but you never really expected something along the lines of whatever the last page was actually going to come about. And the only other thing I can say is almost a damn shame what they did to that dog.
I don't think that. Well, I don't want to spoil too much. Let Tim read it because I know he's going to read it. So.
Well,
Yes.
that was the part.
I mean,
that
it's still good. I mean,
Yes.
even I feel like the ending was drummed up a bit just to add tension to the cliffhanger for the next issue.
Mhm.
It's still very good. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a problem only in the sense of I liked it a lot, not super a lot.
Right.
It's still a very good book. It's still very well done. The artwork is great. The story is great. The narration's been great. Everything plays out. I see this being a TV show at some point down the line on like
That would be awesome.
Showtime
Yeah, really.
or one of those.
You know what? And there was a panel. That seems to be directly taken from a certain, or else seemed to be invocative of a certain Showtime show. Now, did you say that?
So,
Yeah.
and when that show comes out, I will definitely watch it.
Yeah, totally.
Because I enjoy this quite a bit. But just that's my only complaint is that one little thing at the end, and it's not that big of a deal.
And I think the problem might be is that we don't know how that's going to tie into what's going on, given the tone of the book so far.
Yeah.
Because if it just goes from
Yeah, because this book is he's building a home, he's building a family. It's been a very, I don't want to say simple, but it's been a very, quiet in a sense.
Yeah.
It has not been about world problems. It has not been about, tearing down countries or whatever, she's talking about at the end of this book. And, for it to suddenly go into this much larger scope just felt weird. But,
yeah.
again, we have to see how it plays out. And I guess if there's someone who would know about the coming of the end of the world, she'd be one of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
So many teases.
Dang, Tim, you read a lot of books this week.
I did all right.
Just make it up for last week.
Yeah. Some weeks are better than others.
Yeah,
As you all know.
it is true. Well,
How was Spider-Woman Alpha #1?
there we go.
Am I the only one that read it?
You might be.
Okay, I won't spoil too much then. This sets up the crossover between the Spider-Women books, which are Silk, Spider-Woman, and Spider-Gwen. The setup of the story is that there's a kind of a sisterhood that's been created out of the pages of Spider-Verse, and what's being explored in this is how their trip into Spider-Gwen's reality, Earth 65, I believe it's called.
Yes.
How that is not going undetected, and some stuff happens where someone gets a hold of Spider-Gwen's means of transportation and uses it to travel to the 616. And I won't spoil who it is that does that, but it's been kind of set up in the pages of Spider-Gwen. So this has been going on. The snippets of the story, the beginnings of the story have been developing for a little bit now, and it's kind of cool to see it play out. I like this particular trio of heroes. They are all at different stages of their superhero careers. And this is obviously incorporating all of the developments in the Spider-Woman book. Mild spoilers. since it was on the cover of the last Spider-Woman book, but Spider-Woman does have a child at home now. So that does play into this as well. I had a lot of fun with this. I've stopped reading Silk, but it's not necessary to read, I don't think, any of the 3 books prior to reading this one to understand the dynamic between the 3. I may very well be picking up the crossover issues of Silk just so that I have them, physically. But I kind of like the setup of this so far, and I'm willing to read it through to the end.
I got caught up on Silk over the weekend, and if I were to rank, I guess the 3 books, Silk would probably come in third, but not by much.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, for me, it's probably Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen, and then Silk.
I'd agree with that one, except I haven't been reading Silk at all, so.
Yeah, I stick with that. Okay.
Cool. How about let's stick with the Spider-Man end of the Marvel Universe. Did anyone read Spider-Man number 3?
Nope.
Yes.
Okay. So I enjoyed this book a lot because Bendis taps into a lot of the a lot of the super different aspects of Miles Morales' family life and how his mixed heritage is actually being played up very strongly here. This is the first time we've actually seen that aspect of his background explored, and I found that very interesting to see, what his family background is like. That wasn't, I don't believe, very much explored in the Ultimate book. We definitely get a lot more Ganke and the young ladies that he pals around with in the Ultimate books, but in this one, we actually delve into the backstory of Miles's mom and dad. And spoiler alert, I think if you read the last issue, you know what I'm about to ring the bell for. Miles's maternal grandmother shows up to lay down the law, and it's a pretty funny couple of pages with when she's there.
Nice supporting character added to the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell Bendis was having fun writing the dialogue for this. Just how Miles would try to sweet talk her, and she wasn't falling for it, and she was just convinced Miles is on drugs because that's what all teenagers are on.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the drugs. She says, and then her and Miles' father again in an argument, and then the guest appearance from Miss Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
As she tries to convince him to sneak out so they can go do superhero things.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work out. And then we get a nice guest star on the final page.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
A new student to Miles and Ganke's school.
Yep.
And I'm not familiar with this character. I'm assuming this is an established character. All right.
From pre-Secret Wars on another book that Bendis was working on.
Mm-hmm.
See, I enjoyed the book. I mean, it's definitely a fun read.
It was snappy.
But my only problem was that 90% of the book is like a 10-minute chunk of time. Like it's so much of it is the dialogue of this one scene,
right?
And the few moments that follow after that. It's not necessarily not a lot happened. I mean, very little actually transpires in this issue. It's
Brian Bendis, everybody.
Yeah.
It's still fun to read, though.
Yeah. It was Bendis through and through.
By the way, did you guys notice that Sarah Pichelli's art has taken another step forward?
Yes.
I did notice that there's an inking assistant on this, Gaetano Carlucci, obviously someone Italian who's probably very local to Sarah Pichelli. But I noticed that the art in this is evolving and has gotten super sharp.
Yeah, her time, she took a good chunk of 2015 away for personal reasons, but she's back and better than ever.
Yeah, I give her a lot of credit on she's great with expressions, and there's so many various expressions in this. She is not one of those superhero artists that lives to draw overly muscled superheroes. This, one of her biggest strengths is drawing expressive faces, especially female expressive faces.
And she's good with fashion as well.
Yeah.
So, while not a lot happens, still an enjoyable book.
Definitely.
If you read Bendis books, you're used to that. All right.
All
Uh,
right.
let's jump companies. How about anyone else read Superman 51?
Yes.
I was gonna say I know Doug did.
Wait, there's a Superman book out?
Yes.
Yeah, they still make them.
There was two out. There was two out actually, but I only read one. The good one.
Oh no.
We can talk the other one a little bit, but
Yeah.
Oh no.
I mean, it's a different thing completely. But this one thing, the first thing I actually noticed when I was unpacking the box and pulling this out is that they've gone back to the shield numbering on the book. You can see that there's a little Superman diamond with the 1 up by the logo, and that is something that started in the 90s when first there were 3 Superman books and then 4, and then they made a 5th one for the months that had a 5th week. And it was basically one long ongoing story in all the Superman books. So every week you were getting a new chapter of the same ongoing story through all the different titles. So they started numbering them on the cover like this, so you could follow the story. So it looks like that's
across
what we're going to
titles.
start doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all these Super Family books are going to start following at least this major thread. I don't know how closely they're going to go from title to title, but getting that number back actually made me a little excited because I always enjoyed that part of the storytelling back in the 90s. But this brought a very interesting change to the Superman mythos and kind of explains some of the artwork that we're seeing in Rebirth for the upcoming specials where you see Superman and he looks a little bit different. We now know possibility of why that may be, because apparently
Spoiler bell?
well, no, I'm not going to get too deep.
Okay.
So not too spoilerish, but apparently all the things that have been going on in the book over the last year or so, all the major changes that he's gone through are starting to cause, starting to cause a problem for him.
Okay.
And that problem may lead to a major status change in the Superman universe. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it open-ended like that, and we can discuss it more later when it's not in major spoiler territory. But needless to say, when I read that, it's one of those changes that for some people they're going to go, oh, again, something else big is happening. But for me, I was like, yes, this makes sense. With everything that's been going on for this next step in the progression to happen, it makes sense. And so I like the direction where it looks like it's going and the changes that are going to be happening and going into Rebirth. I'm just really looking. I'm a lot more secure in the changes that are going to be coming in Rebirth after this issue as I would have been, a month ago.
Without it? Okay.
Yeah.
It seems like you have to do something with Superman. I mean, keep changing Superman because otherwise you're just going to have that, and
all of the things that have happened are I guess building to something. I guess is what you can say. And whether you like what it's building to or not is going to be a topic of discussion. Some people are going to like it, some people won't. But from a storyline sense, it makes sense that all these major changes are going to have an effect on him. So I enjoy at least the fact that they're acknowledging that it's kind of a big deal what he's gone through the past couple months and how it's disrupting the status quo.
I'm curious to see what the twist is going to be. Because it can't just be this straightforward.
I mean, I've got an idea. Someone actually pointed out this is a very mild speculative spoiler. But if you look at some of the Rebirth artwork that's starting to come out, Superman no longer has the New 52 collar on his uniform, and that may not be just because they're going back to the old look. So process that the way you want to process that.
Yeah, you can speculate pretty well on what could be, going on, but like I said, part of me wonders, is it just going to be that straightforward?
I almost think it has to be the way that they've. I mean, you have two Supermans running around. That gets a little awkward,
Yeah. Oh, and about the numbering, which I didn't notice when I picked up the cover and looked at the cover, I should say. But yes, the story is crossing over into Batman, Superman. I think is next week, and Action Comics, and
right.
Superman, Wonder Woman, and Tomasi's writing all the issues.
Right, and I'm just curious if this means, though, they're going into that deep of a, week to week to week, where you're going to have to, like, each week is the new chapter of the story going from the books, as opposed to all of them are. I just got a note from Agent 70. Got really distracted there for a second.
Sorry, trying to figure it out. Like, wait, what?
What are you talking about? Like, oh, I understand now. Yeah, I've got.
Yeah, I didn't want to
problems.
interrupt the flow, so I just dropped that, for you when you had a chance.
Just things never have titles. They're always by stock number, so I always grab the title and copy and paste it. And a lot of times I copy and paste incorrectly and think I've done a much better job than apparently I have. But anyway, I just don't know if it's going to be, like I said, that close of a, like your weekly episodic television is what you're going to get in the comics. But that's the way they did it in the 90s that I really loved. And knowing that Dan Jurgens is a big part of this storyline, a big part of this push, makes me think that is, where they're going with the books, where it's every week is a new chapter of your, one ongoing story, as opposed to 5 different books that mildly interact with each other, but always seem to cover completely different ground.
How much Hyperion is in this book?
There are no big rigs, I don't think. So.
Oh no!
I tried reading that over the past week, by the way, and gave up like around page 10, I think.
Okay.
The Hyperion book. I was like, yeah, I don't care. Sorry.
Yeah.
So 5 stars, great.
So that's Superman 51.
Yep. Now, just real quickly, since you mentioned it, the Neil Adams book, it is very similar to what he did with Batman Odyssey, if anybody read that a couple years ago. He is doing a Silver Age story, basically, in the modern era.
Okay.
So it's big, it's goofy, it's crazy sci-fi concepts, it's lots of the side characters getting attention. Basically he's just trying to play up a story like as if, he was still back, in the mid-'70s doing, the DC books, where they have a lot of that weird stuff going on. And coming to the Superman, a lot like Batman, like I said, Batman Odyssey he did a couple years ago, they're both in that same mold, you could say. So it's very awkward in the modern market to get a story like this, but that is what he's trying to do and what he's going for. So if you're not really looking for that kind of experience, it can be very off-putting trying to read it. But yeah,
Understood.
It's a little crazy.
Cool. All right.
Moving
on. Let's see.
I did read Green Lantern.
Okay.
This one finishes up the story of him being on Earth. Just to basically quickly recap, he is the last Green Lantern. He can't find the others. They're lost somewhere out in space or a dimension, and that's a separate series going on. When he did the whole thing where he grew his hair long and he started wearing the trench coat and everything, he was actually trying to pass himself off as if he'd turned villainous so that he could make inroads into different communities.
Because a trench coat says villain.
It does. I mean, if you're not wearing a suit and tie underneath, you know. But the ring powers, he turned into this gauntlet, and apparently doing that has made the energy affect him differently. He's now starting to manifest powers in a completely different way. He had a big fight with Parallax. Parallax wanted to steal his power in order to destroy this universe and rebuild the universe the way he wanted, with his original Coast City that was lost in the Death of Superman storyline, if you remember all of that from the 90s. And so this book is basically just to show that he's going through these problems, these changes with his powers, and he's wrapping up the story on Earth and heading back into space. So it was one where, as far as your typical story goes, it's more about moving the pieces around, getting them in spots for the follow-up story. Some of the stuff in deep space with these people that were trying to track him down, and people he was traveling in space with, and all of them, bringing them back in the picture so you're reminded of what they're up to and where they're at. But again, this particular one, not a lot going on other than getting everybody in position for what's to come. So it's one of those issues.
I read 50 when it came out, and he was like fighting his past self.
Yeah, that was Parallax. That was God, I hate to reference the movie, but the big yellow monster in the movie that attacked Earth. I don't know why you're playing that, but whatever. Best movie since Avatar. But basically, Parallax, you found out, was an evil force of fear. That's why the Sinestros use yellow, was because they were actually harnessing his power, and he is this yellow energy creature. So, I mean, that's why it's yellow. It's because it's from this guy, not necessarily because of fear or whatever. And Hal Jordan lost his abilities as a Green Lantern, so he started. Basically, he went crazy and he started killing other members and stealing their rings and trying to build up power, and he was infused with the Parallax energy, and he became Parallax and turned into a major villain of the DC universe, and that's what led to that other guy whose name I can't remember, Kyle Rayner. That's what led to Kyle Rayner becoming the new Green Lantern. So the character, I don't even remember what happened to Parallax, in some fight in space and got dispersed in the universe or whatever, but somehow after Convergence, he was sent back to try to stop all the stuff that happened in the original Crisis, and apparently he's been floating through the multiverse for a while and has decided now that he's going to rebuild a universe with his Coast City the way he remembers it, and he was trying to steal all the power from this version of Hal Jordan, his younger self. He was going to kill him and steal his power and try to, rebuild the universe, which makes sense from his storyline point of view. It's another one of those things that, unless you read all that stuff in the 90s, though, it's not really going to mean a whole lot as a modern reader, but, it was fun to revisit some of that stuff.
Okay.
Dear DC, can we get an archive of all of your back issues? Thank you.
Dear Roddy Cat, yes, it's called Comixology, and it'll cost you $1.99 an issue.
No.
Wait for a sale.
Yeah, I've done
We're
that.
having a sale.
So,
Justice League Dark Side War Special #1.
Okay, I read this because how long has it been since we got an issue of Justice League?
They're now coming out with specials.
Oh, Lord.
well, this was always scheduled to come out. It was just scheduled to come out like a month ago. And,
Right. Right. If I recall correctly, I had a reaction to the ending of the last issue of Justice League where it read, "To be continued in the Justice League, the Dark Side War Special," and I think I said something that was filled with expletives.
Hey, at least it was only $3.99 and not like a $5.99 thing.
True enough.
DC's all about saving us money nowadays.
Yeah, see how nice they are?
Yeah, except if you have to buy a book twice a month. But
If they really wanted to be nice and save us money, they could make an everyday stuff.
Oh,
That you can pay a monthly fee for.
way to bring it back, Roddy.
Just saying.
But the nice thing about this is that it explained a bunch of the stuff that's been going on. First of all, some of the stuff that they're explaining in here goes all the way back to the beginnings of the New 52 and stuff that we heard about Darkseid having a daughter and Earth 2. That series started with Darkseid demolishing that planet trying to find his daughter. It turns out he was on the wrong Earth. He should have been looking on our Earth, and he was looking on that Earth. And so that's where that storyline comes from.
Okay.
So it's that was 2011, and now it's coming full circle here where they're finally explaining it.
That's crazy.
But the nice thing is that for a lot of people, I've heard people say that it's hard for them to understand some of the stuff happening in the story because they don't know who these characters are, and they go back and they flip through the Justice Leagues and they don't see anything, and they look through a Wonder Woman and they're like, I don't see this character, I don't know what they're talking about, where this comes from. This book is specifically designed to plug those holes and to answer the questions.
Yep.
Some of this stuff has never been answered before. You don't know where this stuff came from, and this is where you're finally getting those answers. So it is nice to finally be able to go, okay, now I see how all these pieces fit together that I've been looking at for the last, 4 months, 5 months that this Darkseid War has been going on.
Right.
And it's
Right.
a dual story because it deals with the origin of Grail, Darkseid's daughter, and Jessica Cruz's power ring. It's not an origin for her, but seeing her trying to escape out of the power ring.
Right. Basically, that's the part that advances the story along the most. That and one of the smaller aspects of the Grail story.
Well, and we know that Power Ring has been appearing a lot in the artwork for Rebirth. So we know that she's going to be a big player in the Green Lantern books.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing her here starting to take her first steps from being a slave to the power and living in fear of it, and now starting to take control of that power, we can see how she's starting to be remolded for Rebirth and what comes after.
Absolutely.
All good stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have a surprise return of a hero at the end of this issue.
So it was, I enjoyed it, for what it was as part of that story. It was good.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed some of the explanation of Grail's story, and it struck me very much like the story of Isaac and Ishmael, but obviously with serious variations, but having one side go one way, one side going the other, basically being being born under similar circumstances and finding, and going in two very different paths.
Mm-hmm. So, if you've had questions about the series and you had no idea what was going on, you might give this a try to help.
Yeah, this will clear up a lot of the confusion.
Yeah.
At least with regards to Grail and her mother.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
All right.
So what do we got left?
Anybody read Detective?
Nay.
No.
Okay. This was another one that actually had a 70s feel to it. If was Son of the Demon, was that the one with the Ra's al Ghul story with Batman on the desert?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Jim Gordon. As a Marine, he uncovered something in the deserts of Afghanistan that's haunted him, and now it's starting to come back. So he's returning to the desert and trying to track down some answers. People from his old unit are starting to disappear or get murdered, and so he's got to solve this mystery. So ties in well with Detective, being the mystery book and mystery solving. And he's also talking in this one about not really being Batman anymore, so it kind of ties into what's been going on in the main book, but he still has access to the suit, he still has access to the technology, even though
he still doesn't have his
and,
mustache. He shave it off.
Yeah, it hasn't grown back.
I was just looking through it.
But the story does have that that horror tone to it, that 70s, the way a lot of books did during that time period. It's definitely picking up on that vibe and having a little fun with it, playing with the storyline. There's some dark evil magic stuff going on hidden in the deserts that he stumbled upon and has to go back and face. So it's a good story. I don't think it's really going to be anything major for the character or pushing the Batman mythos in any particular new and exciting way, but it's just it's a fun story. It's a good story.
Okay, so he still has access to the bat suit and a lot of the tech. I thought he retired all that stuff, but
Yeah, or I mean, it could be one of these things where it just fits. The editorial at this point in time is not pushing as hard for everything to line up perfectly.
okay.
With what we see with Justice League versus the regular Superman books, with that character and everything.
Right.
So it may just be that it's in some random period in time, and it'll, if someone really wants a no prize, they can pigeonhole the exact spot for it, but otherwise they're just kind of, letting it be its own thing
Sure.
just for the sake of telling the story.
Gotcha. Dirt, do me a favor, flip to the Romita Jr. variant cover for this. That's
This
just
one here?
awful. That's awful. That's awful.
Because he's got a gun?
Yeah, that's awful. And the way he's swinging too, that's just awful. I love Romita Jr. I'm a big fan. I've always tried to stop by when I see him at a con. But I look at this and I can't help but say out loud, that's just wrong.
Well,
He's gearing up for All-Star All-Star Batman.
I think part of it is that they asked him to do like 20 of these variants, and apparently at the same time Marvel asked him to do 12 or 16 variants for them.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like
So
hey,
I guess his exclusive is up?
yeah, so we're doing John Romita Jr. variants, and I don't know if he agreed to do the Marvel ones, maybe he didn't, but I know an offer was made, so but this may be him, in between books, just trying to rush a bunch of stuff out. And some get a little more detail than others, and
all the DC ones have the hero flying or coming in from left to right, at least so far.
Yeah, and that may be part of him, doing them all so quickly is kind of following that. I'm going to use this one basic look and just do them all the same way.
Right. I just think this is ridiculous looking. I'm sorry.
The one thing that I thought was goofy is the way it's wrapped around his feet.
Those are the two things I mentioned: the gun and the way that he's sort of skiing on them, or if he let go with one hand, he'd be dangling by his feet. Come on now.
Hey, he's Batman. He'll make it work.
Yeah.
Always tie your shoelaces.
I'm gonna reach forward and give you the snare and the laugh for that
Oh, thank you.
one. All right, what's next?
Well, the one other thing, we do have a Green Arrow Romita Jr. variant.
That looks good.
That's good.
Yeah. And it's, again, that same basic pose from left to right. So.
He's still taking on Deathstroke, I assume.
Yeah. There's the regular cover, so. And with the goatee back.
They were making such a big deal about that for Rebirth, and it's like, doesn't he already have it?
I have not kept up with this book since they switched writers the last time, so I couldn't tell you exactly what's going on. But
all right. Oh, so you didn't read this?
No.
Oh, okay. You just wanted to show the cover.
Yeah, I just wanted to show the other Romita variant because that one I like quite a bit.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good.
All right.
Let me get to the Fits #1.
Okay.
From Image Comics. It's from the Superior Foes of Spider-Man creative team of Nick Spencer and Stephen Lieber. And it's about two crooked cops who, of course, they're crooked. They're criminals, but they're working for someone else in high power, and it's just them being not what's the word I'm looking for? Like dolts, is that a word?
dolts. They're not the brightest
Yeah, the
bulbs.
dolts. They're not the
They're
brightest.
idiots.
They're pretty dumb. It, described it as superior, the R-rated version of Superior Foes of Spider-Man,
Okay.
with the cussing and whatnot involved.
And a
I like
dog.
it.
Apparently,
Yeah,
a
there's
dog is a big deal.
Pretzel's the dog.
Pretzel's the dog, not pizza dog. Oh, okay.
He's the hero of the book.
The dog is the hero.
That's how I heard it. It is explained in an interview.
Hmm.
I don't want to say too much about the dog. You can read it yourself to find out. But there's a nice little flashback sequence of the guy in the black with the black suit on. He's like the main character, and he sort of explains how he is the way he is now, and it involves seeing a crime committed when he was a child and being having a big impact on him, and sort of guiding him on the path he's on right now. And
Okay.
Lieber, he has his art's funny because he throws in all these like sound effects. Like there's I think it's the other character on the cover. Let me click on it so you've ever seen it. He does like a sort of like jacking off motion with his hands, and he adds like the sound effects like fat 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 in like small little words around the motion of it. So it's like little cues like that you wouldn't notice. There's a running gag, at least to me it was a running gag with a book for dummies. I forget what it's like two book like you see a book for dummies at the beginning and one near the end, and they're both kind of like little funny little tidbits. And Nick Spencer, if you've been reading his Captain America run, he's good at referencing current events or current trends. And that happens a lot here. Like at the beginning, there's a nice little intro of how, being a criminal nowadays isn't the same how it used to be. Before you could be, physical and actually go and rob people or break into homes and steal stuff. Now it's all like cyber security and stealing money over the internet and not getting your hands dirty. So for guys like them who are old school, it's harder being a criminal than it is if you're tech savvy. So really fun book. I'm not sure if it's a limited series or ongoing, but whenever book issues come out, I will be reading it.
Okay.
I encourage everyone to read it, by the way.
Fine, we have homework, I guess.
Yes. I don't make many requests. This is one.
All right. What do we have left on the list?
Oh, and you can read my review on declicknation.com.
There you go. All right. So I guess we're in pretty much rapid fire mode.
Sure.
All right. So let me wrap up with the last two books I have on my list. I'll probably chip in on one of the books that Roddy read that I read very quickly on the way home today. First, I'm going to talk about Invincible Iron Man number 8. Anyone else read it?
Yeah, it's a good book.
Yeah, this was actually a pretty interesting book in that there's a great the first thing that leapt out at me, one of the guest stars in this issue is Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man, and Iron Man and Spider-Man meet up in Japan while they search for War Machine, Colonel Rhodes, who's been captured and is been stripped of, and spoiler alert, been stripped of his armor through somewhat advanced technological means, and basically that what happens to Rhodey also happens to Iron Man and Spider-Man, and hijinks ensue.
Yeah, they spend the whole issue trying to find him and rescue him, and just as he's about to make his escape, they show up as the heroes triumphant, ha ha ha, we found you, and they land right in the worst place possible and add to the problem 100 times
Mm-hmm.
more than if they had just never found him and he was able to run out the hole in the wall and get away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There was one funny bit I wanted to touch on. It felt like it was Bendis taking kind of like a tongue-in-cheek shot at Slot. Did you pick up on that, Dirt?
I don't read The Amazing Spider-Man, so I don't...
Well, I mean, but you know what the Amazing Spider-Man appears to be now. You know what his current costume looks like now.
Oh,
and
that
the
it glows
joke,
for no reason?
yeah. So I was like, oh, all right, I see you, Bendis.
It makes a good point.
Yeah, yeah. I really don't know why that glows. It's pretty funny.
Because it's got some high-tech gadgetry in it.
Yeah, we still don't know why though. All right. Next, I read New Avengers #9. Who else read that?
Yeah.
All right, Dirt. So, without spoiling too much, we have the rebirth. It's on the cover of Godzilla in the Marvel Universe.
As I put it in my Vine on this issue this week, I said someone sat down in a staff meeting and said we need at least one storyline in this crossover that nobody can give a crap about. And that's what this one is.
I felt that this was Al Ewing just having a lot of fun. You know, he was just having a lot of fun with this. Everything from the name of the U.S. soldier who was picked to undergo the process of becoming the American Kaiju, all the way to what the American Kaiju utters when he is rampaging, up to what the New Avengers use to combat the American Kaiju, is just a lot of fun.
If you remember the issue of Detective Comics where Joker's daughter somehow had a giant Joker bot, and so suddenly Jim Gordon had a giant Bat bot, and the
Sort
two
of.
giant bots were fighting against each other. That's how I felt with this book. Just like, oh, come on. Like, every time I turned the page, I was like, really? Like, oh, come on.
I was mildly hoping that they would have brought back Red Ronin for this.
Uh,
I guess it would help if I actually knew a lot of history about kaiju and all that good stuff.
You don't
But I
really
won't-
need it, but you know, it was just
it's,
Have you
Yeah.
seen Pacific Rim?
yeah.
yeah, it's just,
Have you know enough?
yeah, it's just big monster movie. I mean, that's what it is. It's
Mhm.
I just don't know. I just don't know how well this actually serves the crossover. You know, it's just more of a distraction.
How is this part of the crossover? What does this have to do with what's going on in Connecticut?
Well, it's got the standoff logo on the New Avengers
Lord.
logo, and it's got the
Maybe
crime
it's
scene
leading.
tape.
Maybe it's leading into.
It's one of those, we're going to tie into it, but I'm still basically going to tell the same story I've been telling. Continued.
Yeah. That's
Hey,
fine.
it's one of it reiterates the point of you don't have to get every, part of a crossover.
No,
Mhm.
you absolutely do not.
No. No.
Now,
So-
having said that, though, did
There
you
was
read
another
Uncanny?
crossover, right?
Yeah, Uncanny Avengers. Did you read that one?
Did not.
Not yet.
Now, see, this one was actually very good. This one served the series. It served the crossover. It served the characters. It was from top to bottom. It worked as an issue of Uncanny Avengers. It also worked as a standoff. It worked with the history of the X-Men. It played into a lot of things, and it was a great, again, a great chapter of standoff.
Mm-hmm.
This one was very well put together, and it centers around the heroes that we've seen trying to get to the bottom of what's happening in the small town in Connecticut. They have been. I mean, I guess we can. It's not really a spoiler anymore because we're several issues into this, but people are being mind wiped and put in this small town with new identities, basically living their lives thinking they're in a small town as this futuristic prison. So you're stripped of your identity, you're given a new one, and you just live this nice, quiet little life in this small town instead of going out and being a supervillain. And these heroes have gone through the same process. So all of the characters from Uncanny Avengers have now found themselves with new identities, new implanted histories in them, and Rogue is the one who awakens, and she awakens because she and Xavier went through some training years before, when she was a young X-Man. And so that training is what allows her to realize what's happening around her and, quote-unquote, wake her up.
Right.
And then it's up to her to go around and start finding the rest of the Uncanny Avengers throughout the town.
Okay. I was going to say, without having read this, and I'm not going to ask you if I'm correct or not, but that's actually part of X-Men canon, of the canon of the Rogue character, in that they have told stories about Rogue's extra training with Professor Xavier to try to control her, having absorbed the psyche of Carol Danvers. And that was right, and that was a big part of the reason why Rogue came to the X-Men, which is that she needed help in controlling, or at least finding a way to coexist with this extra personality and psyche within her brain.
Yeah, and so basically what it is he's telling her, years ago, at some point your mind will be under attack, and you'll have a hard time knowing what reality is and what isn't reality. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, your subconscious knows, even if your conscience doesn't.
Oh, conscious.
Conscious, yes,
yeah.
Sorry. Conscious doesn't. Your subconscious does. And so your mind will try to tell you by leaving you clues. You just have to be able to start picking up on them. And so she has, basically set these mind traps, if you will, for herself, and they start going off, and she starts to realize what's happening, and that's leads to some pretty amusing interactions when she finds the rest of the team and the new lives that they have and the characters they are. Cool. So it was well done, and it does fit with what's going on in Standoff perfectly. Yeah.
All right, I look forward to reading this then.
They even make a comment at one point where they can't find Captain America and they have no idea what happened to him. And of course, we know from his book that he's off, somewhere different, doing his own thing.
Exactly.
He's got his own storyline.
Finding the rejuvenation machine, yes.
Getting back young again.
Yeah. So they even make a comment about that in this, which I thought was a very good way of showing that, hey, we're all on the same page here. We're working on telling the same story.
Cool. All right. So I covered my books. Anybody else got any books before we move on to news?
Here, I got a couple real quick. Scarlet Witch #5.
Yes. I did read this very quickly. I just didn't type it into my list.
Yeah. This was a different book. This is going away from the stuff that's been happening in the last few books. Wanda gets asked to come to this nunnery, convent, winery. I guess it was a convent, yeah. Because
in
apparently...
Spain.
Huh?
In Spain.
In Spain.
That's a very important part of the story.
You are absolutely right. It is. Because there are some spirits that seem to be haunting the underlevels of it after they excavated it to try to get some more space. People go in, they speak, they get possessed. An exorcism has been tried, doesn't work, so there's something else going on underneath, which between Wanda and this young nun who was tasked to help her figure out what's going on. Once they figured it out, we found out that the convent used to be a nunnery during the Spanish Inquisition, which was, I guess, the headquarters of the Inquisition, and turns out that the nuns in this nunnery took a vow of silence. They were somehow unfairly branded as witches, and were either burned at the stake, because they were using like herbs and stuff to heal people and whatnot, and they were thinking witchcraft. It's a witch. So
does she weigh more than a duck?
Come to find out, we don't get that answer.
Oh.
I can answer though. No one gets turned into a newt.
That's a shame.
Yeah. So Wanda goes in and finds a little bit of resistance due to the ghosts of some of the Inquisition folks. Frees the souls of the nuns, and all is well at the end of this issue. And she also finds out a couple of things. She gets a
Roddy,
little
you just went
perspective about
underwater.
stuff. Did I?
Yep. You just went underwater. In the meantime, while you're trying to surface, I wanted to add that Javier Pulido does the guest art on this issue, and I think Pulido has a lot of fun creating what I would call his version of the G.I. Joe silent interlude issue, where Wanda basically comes on and does her impression of Snake Eyes invading the Cobra Temple trying to rescue Scarlet with no sound, no talking, no nothing. It was pretty cool. Even if it was only for a few pages, I got a kick out of seeing a silent interlude type story being told.
Yeah, she was just at work doing the business.
Yep. Oh, and you want to talk about Poe Dameron?
That was going to be my last one, and I guess at this point, potential clicker week. I don't know, but
no kidding.
Kinda.
No kidding. I didn't read it, so I didn't even pick up a physical copy. So.
Well, I mean, it's got some tough runnings, but what we have here is Poe Dameron. We basically find ourselves at the beginning of Force Awakens in this one, because you see him on mission with his crew trying to get through this cavern. We don't know why he's doing this, but it flashes back to him getting the mission from Leia, and if you remember the beginning of Force Awakens, he is tasked to go find a certain person to try to find Luke, to help try to find Luke. And then it cuts back to now, where he is doing something seemingly different, but he's actually after the person he's looking for, who is not there once he gets to where he's going, but finds out that there's some resistance from the First Order coming at the end of the book. And this is basically, going back and forth, not going back and forth, but this is basically Poe getting the mission, finding out stuff of that, then getting mid-mission and dealing with the people that he's found in this big cavernous thing with an egg that they're protecting for some reason. Okay. And that the person that he is tasked to find not being there, but he is trying to get the information on how to find out where this person went, and he has to go through these people. But he is stopped from doing that because, like I said, at the end, there is some resistance coming due to the First Order. Like, the art was great. It's Noto.
It's Noto again? Okay.
Yeah. It's Charles Soule doing the writing, so the writing was decent on that. It's just that we don't necessarily know where this book is going or what kind of legs it has, but we do know, like I said, we know where we are in Star Wars canon.
I've only got a couple clips of the week to add. Let's see, Batgirl 50 sort of ends the ongoing arc of this new nemesis that sort of stole her memories and knows everything she's ever done and who she is and whatnot. And she needs some help, so she calls in, I guess you can call it her birds of prey, as you see on the cover here. And something I didn't notice, it mirrors the first cover from when the new creative team took over, when she's in the bathroom taking a picture, and she kind of like looks, she looks confident in that original cover, but she's like not facing, her eyes aren't locked on to the reader. And here, she's staring straight at the camera, joined by her friends. And what I enjoyed from it was this little small tidbit added where each character took on a villain, and they would put up sort of like the Scott Pilgrim versus the world type image of like video game characters about to fight. It's like, fight! And you have like some of like Spoiler versus this person, Black Canary versus this person, every time a fight was about to start. So that was cool. Midnighter.
Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
it reminded me of the Scott Pilgrim movie.
Mm.
Midnighter number 11, Apollo appears as you see on the cover. Midnighter is about to be killed by the Suicide Squad, and Apollo shows up to save him and helps team up with Helena Bertinelli from Spiral to take on Henry Bendritz, I think his name is, a villain from the Wildstorm universe.
Okay.
And I guess it's all gonna resolve itself in the issue 12, which is the final issue of the book next month. And let's see, we were discussing uh, Al Ewing books earlier, so Contest of Champions number 7 I did read. It's the start of a new arc, and the Ultimates are gunning for the Maestro, who is now
No
the
kidding.
ruler of the Battle Realm / Battle World. I like how, as dumb as a character he looks to be now, compared to how he was to how he is now. But Night Thrasher being involved, I love. Especially
Really?
now that he's like some strategic genius all of a sudden.
Yeah, and the British Punisher keeps fanboying over him. I hadn't read this issue
Yeah,
yet, but as of last issue, it was.
Now I'm kind of curious.
it's another fun book like New Avengers. I mean, it has repercussions through the Marvel universe because it seems like almost all Al Ewing's books are linked together in at least a small way,
Hmm.
like the ISO 8 uh, material that is here in Contest of Champions, and Blue Marvel named it way back decades ago. Um, Maestro has the ISO 8 and uses it. He's practicing creating servants or worshippers, and so far he's only been able to create one character, and that's because I guess he was fueled by hate and rage for this person. I won't spoil who it is. It's not that big a deal, but it's kind of like a little cool little Easter egg. And yeah, so next the issue ends with the Ultimates about to take on the Maestro.
Mm.
Cool.
Yeah, there's some ties to, well, obviously the book in itself is a tie to the game, which because there are some folks that I did kind of thumb through it, kind of show up that are more in the
Oh yeah,
game
yeah,
than.
forgot totally about that. So yeah,
Hmm.
these characters that I guess appear in the game make their Marvel Universe appearance here.
Hmm.
And last but not least, Empress number 1 from Marvel's Icon imprint from Mark Millar and Stuart Immonen. It deals with a woman who's a queen, Queen Emporia. She's married to King Moratz, who's this like ruthless warlord over whatever planet they're on, and she's grown weary and tired of dealing with him, so she wants to run away with her 3 children and the guy on the far left of that cover there. He's like, I guess like a bodyguard for her,
Okay.
and so he's loyal to her and helps them escape. What I like about it is it's a simple story, trying to escape from sort of like imperial control, but there's like layers to it because you have the queen with her 3 children who range from like teenage to sort of like a young boy, teenage girl, young boy, and then like a younger boy. And the oldest daughter doesn't want to run away because she doesn't want to leave her father. So you have the conflict, mom daughter conflict going there. And there's a nice little flashback sequence, which I'm assuming is going to appear in upcoming issues. We see how Queen and King first met and how she had no problem with them back then, but maybe hopefully with later flashbacks we'll see how things change, at least from her point of view. And Stuart Immonen is on art, and him with Grob Badger on colors looks phenomenal because it's like, especially like on the first couple pages of like light reflecting off the sun rising or setting, whichever one it was doing. it's just like it pops off the screen or off the page. And Eminem is a superstar artist, so it just every page looks great. Especially like there's some chase sequences where the family and the bodyguard are in a spaceship trying to escape the planet, and sort of these neat tricks that the captain pulls to get them like into hyperspace.
Oh, that's the colorist Ives Svorcina from. He's doing a
Okay,
lot of
that's
the
the colorist. Oh,
right.
Rock
A
Badger.
lot of the yeah, exactly. The colorist is someone we're familiar with. He's colored a lot of who's that on Thor?
Sad Ribic.
Yes, Esad Ribic. Thank you. Thanks for the callback. He was doing a lot of the coloring on Esad Ribic's run on Thor and in Secret Wars. So we've seen his color, the coloring, in lots of high-profile work. So it's no surprise that you're impressed by it because it's done really well here.
Speaking of Thor, the character on the cover reminds me of an old Thor villainess.
Hela?
No, Carnella.
Oh, Carnilla, the Norn Queen. Okay.
And that's my books for the week.
Sounds good.
Right.
I gotta
Okay.
read this Empress. I did pick this up.
I've got a
And
couple to throw out there then.
Go for it.
Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say, Tim?
I was going to say quickly, review on theclicknation.com for Empress #1.
Old Man Logan, #4. This effectively ends the first arc here, fighting against Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers says some things in the course of this fight. He doesn't understand why, like, who this guy is. It's like, you look like Wolverine, and he's like, well, you look like Steve Rogers, but he never got that old. And they start to realize that, there's something wrong. This is not his time period. Like, he's discovered that he didn't just go back in time, he's actually shifted to a different universe. And so he has to come to the realization that
there's no changing his future.
Yeah, his future is set, and it's set in a different place that he can't get to. It does deal with the Death of Wolverine storyline.
I thought that was a great callback.
Did you read this then?
I did very quickly. I didn't want to put it doon my list because I didn't think I could kind of speak on it because I kind of flipped through the middle pages during the fight with Steve.
Mm-hmm.
But I did make it to the end, and I did see that part. And
it does at the end show him meeting up with Storm and Iceman as part of that X-Team. So now you know how he joined up with them and got to. What is it? Extraordinary X-Men?
Extraordinary, yeah.
So I mean, I've liked his journey of dealing with his time and the memories of his kids and fighting against that future, that Terminator style time travel, which doesn't quite work, but whatever. But with it being over now, I'm not sure how much excitement I have going forward. I'll try. It's Lemire, so I'll at least give the next arc a try reading it. But now that it's kind of wrapped up, I feel like that puts a pretty good bow on it, and it's kind of hard to see where the title is going to go from here.
I agree with that. I like that it was wrapped up in 4 issues.
Yeah,
like that particular storyline.
It just feels like it would. The tone of the book is going to have to take a major shift in the next issue because that's the driving force behind this book is now gone. So we'll just have to see what happens.
It's just going to become. I was going to say it's going to become another Wolverine book, just with him older.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Gold Key Alliance from Dynamite. These are the old characters: Samson, Solar, Magnus, Robot Fighter, Turok. All of these characters are being brought together for this storyline, and it's interesting. But the problem is, it's once again rebooting the characters.
Again? Wow.
Yeah, there are hints, ripples of who the characters have been before, so it's not 100%
brand new,
different, but you can tell that this is not following those storylines from the last time around. It's going off in a new direction, but there's someone trying to at least turn maybe one against another for whatever particular motives that aren't exactly clear. It's interesting to see how these characters are going to be brought together and the stuff that's going on, but because it's kind of out of left field and doesn't really feel like it's a real continuation of anything that came before, it's not as exciting as I hoped it was going to be. But, I mean, it was interesting if you like the characters. People who are fans of Magnus and Solar and Turok, they're going to read it anyway, but I just don't see it really being much of a draw for anyone else to get pulled into the storyline.
Okay.
And then since I guess I'm going on last, since I've got the last book here, I'm just going to go ahead and tell it. This is my click of the week, is Sheriff of Babylon 5.
Nice.
This is the other book from Tom King that always comes out the same week as Vision, and the two of them always fight each other on which is going to be my click. And this time it's going to Sheriff of Babylon. This is probably the best character study in a comic that you will ever read. So basically, to bring you up to speed, your main character is a soldier in Iraq after the invasion, and his job is more or less to keep order in the Green Zone. That's why he's the Sheriff of Babylon. He's basically there to keep everybody from killing each other, more or less. And because of this murder, he's trying to investigate, and he runs several times across this woman, and she has a lot more to her history than anybody really seems to know. She's a master manipulator, and she's drawn into all of these different storylines. But this whole issue is basically he can't sleep, and he goes outside, and she's standing around outside. She's stolen a cigarette, and she's smoking it in the middle of the night so nobody knows. And the two of them steal a couple bottles of vodka and head into this old palace, one of Saddam's. Basically, it was a palace he built for a pool, just so he could have this pool in the middle of the desert. And it's been bombed out, and it's in ruins, and people have stolen, all the artwork and everything, and they're just sitting in the rubble, and they're both explaining their side of the story, I guess you could say.
Okay.
How they come at it from these different perspectives of he, seeing his country attacked and wants to step up and do something about it, and finds himself in the middle of nowhere with no idea what he's really supposed to be doing, and she seeing what's happening, and basically everyone talks about these are your people and her people, and she goes, these are my people, but they're not my people. She has no love for what these people did. And she also feels like she wants to step up, and she wants to do something, and she wants to help out, but at the same time, the world around her has just crumbled and has, become destroyed, and it's, very symbolic that they're in this former palace that's now been bombed out and, completely destroyed, but the question is whether or not life goes on, and if it does, is it worth living? And, just basically the whole thing is them just sitting around and having this conversation while they're getting drunk, and just talking about their history and relating to each other, and they get along despite the fact that the whole world says that they should be enemies, and it's just a brilliant character study of these two people from completely different parts of the world, completely different lives, completely different outlooks, and yet they, when it comes down to the core of who they are and what's going on, they agree on so much stuff, and they have so much common ground that you would never think of. They would never think of. They would never look at the other person and say that we agree on these things, and we have all this stuff in common that we believe in, and yet there it is. So it's one of those things that you get done reading it, and you feel as if you've been sitting there drinking all night with them as well, and you really feel for the characters differently than you did when you picked up the book. It really adds so much to the story by doing so little, with just having them sit there and talk, and it's just one of the best comics period ever that's been done.
Okay. So if you're part of a 12-step program, don't read the book.
Actually, it might be very beneficial to some people, actually, in many ways. But yeah, right. I mean, this is one of those where I like capes. I like superheroes. Don't get me wrong. Everybody knows that I love Superman and Batman and all of that kind of stuff as well. But then you also get a book like this that the medium serves very well, and the craft that you can see here in the artwork and the expression and the colors and the textures and everything else that goes into it just makes it the best thing, bar none, that I've read this week. Maybe even last week and the week before and the week before that. It's just a fantastic book. It's phenomenal, and everybody should be reading the series. So there you go. What you suckers got?
All right. So if we're gonna go click of the week, I'm torn. I'm gonna give you who my candidates are. I usually do drop who my potential candidates for click of the week are. I'm gonna go. My candidates, at least, are Vision #6, and Spider-Man #3. Black Panther just misses the cut. I just had that much fun reading Spider-Man #3, but I think the champ for me this week is going to be Vision #6. Despite our misgivings about the last page, I think that overall, the evolution of the story, the narrative voice, some of the things that we were talking about earlier about the callbacks to logic games and high school and even college math, made me, just made it a very interesting and engrossing read. So I have to go with Vision #6.
I'm torn on my two. Let's see. I'm choosing between Black Panther #1 and the Fitz #1. Fitz had me dying laughing when I read it, but I'm intrigued with where the story in Black Panther is going to go and how he's being set up for what appears to be a big presence in the Marvel Universe going forward. And since I also bought 4 copies of the same book,
You have to justify that somehow.
You voted with your
voted with my
dollars.
money, so it will be Black Panther #1.
There you go. No, not the fix. He's going Black Panther.
Scrolling back up. I gotta scroll back up to it.
That's funny.
But I do encourage people to read the Fitz as well. It would be a 1B for me, 1A and 1B.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, don't mind me. I'm ordering Black Panther Pops, Funko Pops. Okay, let me get off that page. Anyway, it's kind of a tough one for me too, because Black Panther was definitely in the running. I did mention Poe Dameron, but I think that got knocked out about 2 minutes ago. Vision definitely is a damn good pick. So I'm gonna do something. Well, y'all are not gonna like this, but whatever. So here's what I'm gonna do.
I've done it before. It's okay.
Well, I've done this before also. So here's
You're going Helena.
Yes. No. So I'm going to do a dual pick of Black Panther and Black Widow.
Whoa!
I mean, if that's the case, I could do Black Panther Fitz #1.
You could do it. Go for it. But
I'm sticking with my solo pick, even though I really, really enjoyed reading Spider-Man #3.
Yeah, but Vision would definitely be the one B for me.
Vision's my pick.
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Quick ad read before we get into the movie, television, and comics news of the week. Today's podcast is sponsored by My Comic Shop. Go to cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, click on the My Comic Shop banner and order from a vast selection of new releases, back issues, vintage classics, graphic novels, and more to be delivered right to your door. Why bother schlepping to the local comic book store when you can when you can order your books online? My Comic Shop through cspn.us. Do it today.
Do it today.
When you're not muted.
There you go.
Cool. So, Marvel's Iron Fist cast the Force Awakens actress in lead role.
Picked up this cool Iron Fist t-shirt this week.
Look at that. Okay. So this character is playing, or this woman is playing Colleen Wigg, I believe.
No,
Some
Colleen Wing, not Colleen Wig. She's not creative. She's not related to
Wing.
Kristen Wiig.
Christopher Wigg. So we got some Doctor Strange photos on the web, and then there's gonna be a new trailer, or the first trailer released on April 12th on Jimmy Kimmel Live, I believe.
And I
Oh
believe it
wait,
also
hold
has
on.
a travel release date.
This whatchamacallit, those pictures are from shooting that was going on over the weekend in New York. I don't know if Roddy put any. It's probably not in the news, but apparently,
Him going around
uh,
the comic
yeah,
store.
yeah, he went into the JHU, which is
Yeah,
the successor
it's in
to
there.
Jim Hanley's universe. Okay, in costume. And I pick of all days to not go up to JHU after church, just like kind of wandering and killing time. That's the day I picked not to go up there because it was so windy on Sunday. And of course, that's when Doctor Strange pops by in costume. Unreal.
Snooze, you lose.
Seriously, man.
Uh,
And the costume looks good, by the way. Although I'm not
Yeah.
so keen on the placement of the eye of Agamotto. I think a lot of people said something about it, but ultimately it's not. It's not bad.
Yeah, and somebody also took a Instagram video. I guess it was an Instagram video of them actually shooting. Apparently, it was him and a GFO running
Yes.
down the skip, kind of doing a hop skip or run
Yeah.
skip person kind of deal. So
Deadpool is now the highest grossing X-Men movie.
Lasai.
sure, I guess that's not really saying much.
Luke Cage's Alfred Woodard added to Captain America Civil War cast.
It's kind
Right,
of
so
disappointed in some of the news surrounding this.
Well, I mean, she's already going to be in Luke Cage, and I guess and this article says it mentions that she may be playing someone different than the person she's playing in Luke Cage. We
Right, that's the disappointing part.
don't.
Or
I mean, we
is
don't
she?
have confirmation of that. Exactly.
Yeah, and just yeah, just
Could be
speculation.
in the Stinger post-credit scene.
True.
There's some latest Captain America Civil War TV spots that show more of Black Panther.
That I refuse to watch now because it's getting too close.
Kinda.
Yeah, it's getting close.
It's like we're within a month now, so I'm not going to watch any more new
I got
footage.
my tickets. I got my
Oh
tickets.
no!
I'll order mine in a couple weeks. There'll be another either late postponed show or something Thursday night.
I should say ticket, but whatever.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, I gotta
Flash's
make plans now.
The
Go on.
Flash's solo movie may team Ray Fisher's Cyborg up with Ezra Miller's Speedy Hero.
Hey, we need to speed this along a little bit, so let's double up a couple of these jokes, just like we did with
Mush them
Batman
together.
Superman.
More team up movies.
The voice of Star Wars' Admiral Akbar, Eric Barsfeld, dead at 93.
Rest in
It's
peace.
a trap.
It's a trap.
Yes, rest in peace indeed. Today we got the Rogue One, a Star Wars story teaser trailer.
And I want to see this movie. I'm ready for it. Yeah.
The trailer does a good job of convincing you that you need to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
It's more the score than anything to me.
Oh, the
Score's
slowed down
always
version of the Imperial March or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all good.
There's gonna be a Speedy Gonzalez movie.
Man, I don't know how to feel about that. That's I don't know.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they got the voice actor.
Oh my goodness.
There's a 12-minute sneak peek of Batman: The Killing Joke animated movie. DC / Warner Brothers did some configuring of some release date for movies. Wonder Woman date was moved forward.
To try to
and then
capitalize on the exposure of the character.
I think it's only moved up like 2 weeks though, so it's
Oh,
like
okay.
not a big deal. And then there's 2 more unreleased movies. One opening on October 5th, 2018, and the other on November 1st, 2019. And another Warner Brothers event film has been dated for October 6th, 2017.
Next year. Okay.
Well, they better be working on it quickly if it's coming out next year.
Yep.
Uh, Adam Wingart's Death Note, which I think I saw a tweet saying it's some anime movie
Yeah,
or
it is.
series or something.
Mhm.
It's being moved from Warner Brothers to a Netflix live action film. And someone died on Arrow last night. Main
Really?
character.
Oh, it finally happened?
Yep.
I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah. All right. Now to some comic book news.
Yay!
Image Expo took place yesterday. Go to your favorite comic book website to see the rundown on that. I'll eventually get the news up on theclicknation.com. So yeah, all that stuff. The Batgirl creative team has a book. Uh, the old Uncanny X-Force team of Remender and Opena got a book. Esat Ribic's doing a book with somebody, I forget.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of announcements. It's like, oh, I want to see that art. I'll read it for the art. Second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series is coming to IDW to focus on the supporting characters. Tonight, during DC All Access panel at Emerald City Comic Con, DC Comics announced a new imprint from Gerard Way, creator of Umbrella Academy, which I have the first volume of and haven't read yet.
Mm-mm.
The imprint is called Young Animal, and this is where you'll find Doom Patrol, finally, for those who have been clamoring for that. All 10 of you.
Oh, oh no.
I kid. I like kidding on the Doom Patrol stuff just because I always see people reference Doom Patrol and want to see them have a series, and I'm like, who are the Doom Patrol? What do they do?
Exactly.
They were the X-Men before the X-Men were created. Look it up.
They,
Mm.
them and Metal Men, especially Metal Men, it's just a couple different alloy characters.
Tim is pooping all over the mailman.
Doom Patrol, I've only seen them in whatever issue of Justice League that they like guest starred in when they finally made their new 52 appearance. And even then, I was just like, eh. But
Listen, I remember Doom Patrol. I never read an issue of Doom Patrol, but I remember that because Beast Boy was a member of the Doom Patrol, Changeling, they tried to rename or give him a new code name back in the day when they launched New Teen Titans with Wolfman and Perez. That they explored some of Beast Boy's links to the Doom Patrol, and they did bring in some of the Doom Patrol characters to guest star in the New Teen Titans book back then. So that's really been my only exposure. Other than, were they ever on the Justice League cartoon? I think so, right?
if they were, it missed me.
Oh no.
That happened. I want to say no, but just because I've seen all the episodes. But anyway, I'll check out the review copies if DC sends them to me.
Well, go back one. Image and Iron Circus announced the Creators for Creators grant for up-and-coming creators. So if you are a writer and artist team, there is a grant that you can sign up for to possibly get $30,000 for a new original work. So if you're a creator, you got a book out there, you're trying to get some money, so you do said book. It is out there. You go to creatorsforcreators.org if you want to find out more about that.
Yes, that is important. Asmus and Magno take a monstrous trip with Kong of Skull Island. And
that's going to be a Boom Studios book, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw today that the $6 Million Man is coming to Dynamite from Van Jensen and Ron Salas.
I'll check it out. Wait, haven't they had books already?
Mm.
I don't know. Yeah, anyway.
All right, and final ad read for tonight is for Busted Tees, which is also sponsoring this episode of Comic Book Chronicles. Sponsored by Busted Tees, your home for funny, awesome, cool t-shirts that are sure to get your friends' attention. Busted Tees puts many of their popular shirt designs on sale each week. Choose from several eye-catching t-shirts inspired by pop culture, such as BB-8 Like Thumbs Up and Android Evolution, Star Wars The Force Awakens, Rick and Morty as Legos, Bernie Larry 2016, Pretty Good, Curb Your Enthusiasm, Emojis, the main faces of Samuel L. Jackson as emojis, and much more are on sale. To help keep our podcast free, order from Busted Tees by going to cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then clicking on the Keep Our Podcast Free link. Click on the Busted Tees banner and then shop for awesome t-shirts. Busted Tees through cspn.us. Do it today.
All right.
And what is Dirt advertising?
I'm on Busted Tees. I'm looking at the tees.
Nice.
Yeah. Find us some good ones. I like that
Hey,
Merc with the mouth. It's only $10.
I think they're having a sale right now or something.
Yeah, 50% off.
Wow.
I might have
Time
to hit 'em up.
remaining. One
Hey,
day,
it's con
1 hour,
season.
1 minute.
Yeah, it's con season. You got to up your t-shirt game.
Cool. Make sure to
Whoa,
follow.
wait. The Perminator. It's Bob
Oh
Ross.
no.
I didn't like that.
No. Bob Ross, rest in peace.
Indeed.
Make sure to follow us on our individual Twitter accounts. I'm at TimDOGG98 and at CBCron. Roddy Cat is at Roddy Cat and at News Nerds Need.
Yes.
Agent 70 is at Agent_70.
And
And-
on Instagram.
Thank you. And Doug is at PCN_Dirt and at PopCultureNetwork.com. Go check out his Vine comic book reviews.
Yeah, I hit 60,000 loops this week.
Nice.
That's a lot of loops.
Give me the loop. Give me the loop. Give me the
He
loop.
looped it. He looped it.
They hooped it. They hooped it.
We'll be back
Oh
next.
no! Look at where we're going now.
We'll be back next week for another exciting episode of Comic Book Chronicles, and we are signing off.
Hey!